So I keep trying to think about talking about the 8 freedoms and the 10 fortunes. And the 8 freedoms are the leisures that we have so that we can practice the Dharma, have a precious human life. And I don't really go there very well in my mind. Where it goes to is, those things are, include things like, what, are you a human, are you an animal, are you in a hell realm, are you in a hungry ghost realm, are you in a barbarian place where Dharma isn't available, and things like that. And what I really find takes me to where I think that's trying to take me to more is, well, first off, I think if I think about the realms, I think about mental states. I can imagine being in such suffering and pain that it would be, in mental pain or physical pain either, that it would be hard to practice. Or in such desire, like you're just running after desires and things like that. So I can do it on a psychological level. But what I find more useful is actually the verse by Shantideva where he talks about how, just as lightning flashes so briefly, that's how brief our virtuous thoughts are, and that actually a lot of our time is spent with negative thoughts, and that is interesting to me. I read this commentary by Geshe Sopa on the Lam Rim, which is the Gradual Path to Enlightenment, and I find his comments extremely helpful. And he says that we actually spend most of our time with negative thoughts. And when you first start meditating, it's really quite nice. And then you stay with it for a while, and then you really start slowing down and really seeing your thoughts. And I'd have to say my experience is that this is quite true. It might not be what I would want to have happen, but I think that there's a lot of truth to that, especially if, and many people I think are like me in the sense of it's easy to kind of get stuck in a thought pattern. It could be desire, it could be ill will, it could be doubt. There's so many, your mind kind of sometimes just gets a little obsessive, and so that's what's so nice about meditation, is when you can actually concentrate and put your mind on something virtuous and get away from that. But in terms of thinking about a precious human life, another thing Geshe Sopa says, and this, because this is my experience, this one speaks to me. I don't know much about hell realms from direct experience. I can only think about it in a psychological way and imagine. But I do know from doing meditation and watching all my distractions, where my mind goes and the things I have difficulty with. And then what he says is that, well, then the other thing is, I know this tendency in my life of kind of having a lot of energy and willingness and putting myself into things. Well, he says that, imagine what you were doing, and even what you're doing in this life, where you throw yourself into things. What kind of things have you thrown yourself into? I mean, how have you really spent your life? And so I kind of look at those things, and I look at the periods of my life, and I've like really gotten into classical guitar, and really gotten into basketball, and really gotten into this, and really gotten into that. And I would, even before I graduated from high school, my parents were saying, you're going to run out of things to do in your life, because I was just interested in things, And so this is what works for me, is because, I like to learn about things. I have this energy. I don't really have one of the problems in meditation is sloth. I don't really have that one. It's like, that's so rare for me. Even being bored is so rare in my life. I just don't go there. I have too much energy, So when he says about this, think about what conditions different beings and people are in, and how rare it is for people to have the conditions the 8 freedoms and the 10 fortunes, how rare it is for people to be actually practicing the Dharma. Even Dharma practitioners. We're Dharma practitioners. When we look at our day, how rare is it that we're really utilizing the Dharma? And then you think about how you've thrown yourself into things. And you've probably done this life after life. And what have you thrown yourself into? I mean, I look at these turkeys out there and I'm thinking, God, they spend all day eating these little pieces of grass seed, you know, and they have to do this all day long. You know, like, what were they doing, you know, that got them there? And the problem with those existences is, and even a human existence where you're, you know, spending your time in ways that have kind of a limited potential to them, is that you really never have the opportunity or utilize the opportunity to think about cause and effect. And so if you're in an animal realm, which is one I can see, they can't do that. They have a certain amount, you know, like our cats, they know, I mean, they're so easy to understand. They like food, they like heat, they like, what else do they like? Just butter. Yeah. They like food, they like heat. What else? You know, they're a little easy to understand, but this is kind of what we're doing, and so that really, to me, wakes me up to what our potential is. And so, and what the preciousness of really having the 8 freedoms and the 10 fortunes is about. That's what works for me. And so when you find yourself with those negative states of mind, there's so many ways in the Dharma to learn how to work with them, and it does take a bit of time, you know, and some are easier to dispel and some are really difficult. But the Dharma actually has, like, the Buddha worked it all out. He knew, he worked it out. He had to abandon all of these things so he can teach us how to do that. So one way, if you find yourself maybe newer to meditation or stuck or anything, is just think about what makes your life meaningful and really ponder that. It's quite refreshing.